They came in their hundreds, a defiant crowd of all ages, risking arrest here on Parliament Square to support Palestine Action, labeled a terrorist entity by the British government in July, a decision censured by the UN as a disturbing misuse of counter-terrorism laws.
UK government is probably violating freedom of speech, but not only that, that is violating Article 10 from the European Convention on Human Rights.
It's a peaceful protest under heavy security presence. Before long come the arrests, among them prominent Muslim activist and former Guantanamo Bay detainee Muazzam Beg, who says the British government's use of terror legislation to stifle dissent is nothing new.
Britain has already had a series of ridiculous terrorism laws in which they've targeted the Muslim community over the past 2 decades, particularly with this invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan and beyond. But after this time round now, Palestine has gone above and beyond. And they're not just going for Muslims, they're going for anybody. And people who you will see in the crowd who have nothing to do with anything other than standing up against the greatest crime of our time, which is Israel's war crimes in Gaza.
Margie Mansfield, who was also arrested at a similar demonstration last month, says conventional lobbying has failed and that targeted civil disobedience is the last resort.
They haven't listened to us marching in our millions, hundreds of thousands, month after month. They haven't listened to us. They haven't listened to our emails. They haven't listened to our petitions. But they listened to a government charged with genocide.
Meanwhile, within walking distance of Parliament, the 29th National March for Palestine has arrived in Downing Street, among other things denouncing the ban on Palestine Action.
Everything we say about Israel, we can say against Britain and the British government, and nobody calls us terrorists. So what is this alliance that this country happens to have with a foreign country that would literally, violate our own freedom of speech, freedom of expression?
We're a country that supposedly are a democracy. We're a country where free speech is allowed, free speech with responsibility. What is irresponsible about standing in the street and saying we don't support genocide?
Weeks after the criminalization of Palestine Action, the group won a case against prescription on July 31st, allowing it to bring an unprecedented legal challenge to the government's decision, which came after activists from the group sprayed red paint into the engines of 2 military aircraft in an airbase in central England.
The two demonstrations today may have different tactics, but they have the same aim, which is to keep the pressure on the British government over its ongoing role in the Gaza genocide. And with the police under intense scrutiny, campaigners say that the actions could shape the debate around the right to dissent in the UK beyond this weekend. Saipur is at Press TV, London.